Technologies are improving and their future in the industry, and also something about controls. But it is my belief, and I'll support it as we go through this presentation, that the days of gas discharge lighting and filament lighting are rapidly approaching an end. So I'll start by looking at some of the technology developments that we've experienced in recent times. And I started by saying that half of our business is not LED. It's still conventional gas discharge and primarily fluorescent. And advances in some of the fluorescent technologies that are around now means that, that there is a new lease of life for them. There are better control products for them that can dim and switch off, and therefore the lease of life for things like T5 fluorescent technology has been extended. Most importantly, I think, with those commodity type lighting products, they are still very price competitive. They are now very energy efficient, and they're easily maintained because they're a commodity product. A T5 lamp is just something you can buy from anywhere. When I mentioned before that I think we're at a tipping point, I think the reason that we're at a tipping point is that lead efficacy in good quality and high performance products is equal to or better than that it replaces. And it does it at 50 to 80% less power, and I'll give you some illustrations and some trends in a moment. Things like light colour, the rendering, the switchability and the dimmability of LED products is superior to those that they're replacing. And as I think you probably all know, price has been a stumbling block in the past, and then when I talk about a tipping point, part of that tipping point is that the price of LED products of a good quality, highly reliable from good suppliers is now at a point where it is able to match the more conventional lighting. One issue with LED lighting is that there are very many different manufacturers and different light engines. And so when I talked before about T5 having a commodity and therefore it was an easy thing to maintain, LED doesn't yet have that feature. There is a manufacturing standard called Zaga, which is in its infancy, but it will give manufacturers the ability to manufacture modules which can then be a commodity product. So the issue of maintainability of LED lighting is probably going to get a little easier. However, that, as I said, Zaga is in its infancy. It might be a bit like Beta and VHS, who knows what's going to win. The other major technology developments, and I'll expand on this a little bit later, is that we're moving to an era where lighting control doesn't just save energy. It can become part of a distributed intelligent system providing valuable data as well as energy efficiency. But more about that later on. So just to give you a bit of an idea of this tipping point that I was talking about and where we stand today, this graph comes from the Global Lighting Association. And the dotted lines are giving you the efficiencies of your fluoros, your incandescents, and then your LED luminaires. Of your HID, your fluorescent, and then your incandescent. And as you can see, at around about 2012, the LED package efficiency, now the LED package is that actual LED engine, if you like, so it's more efficient when it's a package than when it's installed into a light. So that's why it's up here. So these are the important ones. Your LED luminaire efficiency and your LED package efficiency, once they're installed, in about 2012, is now at a level where it's superior to your fluorescent efficiency, and it's rapidly heading towards where your high intensity discharge lighting is. So again, I talked about the tipping point. We're already there in terms of efficiency. LEDs installed into luminaires are already at a point where they, on a lumen per watt basis, are more efficient than many of the fluorescents. This graph is, I would point out, done at a very high colour temperature, meaning that it's a very cold blue light. So build into that if you go for a cooler temperature, which is what the majority of people want, then these efficiencies are slightly less. So I'll come back to the technology side of things in a moment, but I'd just like to now go on to lighting retrofits and what drives them. And the number one point I put up there is return on investment. I've been in this business since 1996 and that's never changed. We have a habit of saying to our customers that we're selling you a financial solution, we just happen to do it using lighting. So return on investment drives it. Now return on investment is assisted in the current day and age in some states in Australia with retrofit, with rebates on carbon schemes, such as the New South Wales Energy Savings Scheme. So what the effect of that is that it's improved the return on investment. It doesn't actually change the decision making. People still want return on investment. It's just that they set the goal or set the bar a little higher or lower, whichever way you want to look at it, once they know that rebates are available. So it's a change of expectation as opposed to a change of need. And then things like market forces and regulation have a major impact on lighting retrofits. Regulation doesn't normally mandate that people have to do lighting retrofits, but what it does is things like mandatory reporting, for example, compel organisations to do things to become more energy efficient if they wish to remain competitive. And finally, the issues of best practice and the environment all do drive lighting retrofits. They tend to be somewhere way down the scale, but they are reasons that organisations will upgrade their lighting in order to remain at the forefront of technology. So for my crystal ball, what's going to happen in the next 5 years? Well, I think there's going to be lots of lighting retrofits. And the reason for that is what I've got up there, that it's the environment for lighting retrofits has never been better. We have high electricity costs. We all know that. We all know how much they've gone up in recent times. We have a lot of incentives that are available certainly in say New South Wales and Victoria, but there are incentives in other states and territories for people to undertake lighting retrofits. Our cost of electricity in Australia is now reaching a point where it's probably more equal to the costs in Europe and the USA than it has been in the past, because typically our cost of electricity has been quite low. We have the unheard of efficiency and cost benefit of some new products that's coming along, and of course we have the rebates that I mentioned. Everybody's paying for those rebates. And in my view, the smart people are those who are actually being paid by them by doing things like lighting retrofits and other energy efficiency measures. And it's my belief then that yes, we're going to see a lot of lighting retrofits over the next 5 years and 7 years. But I believe the crest of the wave is going to be in about 5 years. And that's illustrated by this next graph. Just get you to focus on the blue and the red lines there, which are lamps, LED lamps, and then lamps all over the world. And as you can see, we're about here at the moment. And the prediction, again, this comes from the Global Lighting Association, is that there's going to be a rapid uptake of LED lamps, and we're going to hit a crest of a wave around about here in about 5 years' time. Now, that wave will crest for a couple of reasons. One is a lot of people will have undertaken lighting energy efficiency projects. The second is that because of the longer life that we can now expect out of our lighting technologies, then the maintenance cycles are also going to get longer, so that the need to actually be replacing and maintaining light fixtures in the future, that maintenance cycle is going to get longer. So it'll actually force a slight drop in the market once there is a lot of that technology installed. So that illustrates that crest that I was talking about. This one is so the previous one was about LEDs. This one is about luminaires. And again, just focus on these two lines. And as you can see, so we're about here now. We've got this rapid escalation coming up here. There's our 5-year point there. The wave hasn't quite crested because the uptake of LED lamps will, because it's quick and easy to change the lamp, that will progress first. Then actual luminaires or complete replacement of your fixtures will lag a little bit behind. So the crest of the wave for luminaires is probably about a bit more than 5 years, maybe 7 years away, as you can see illustrated there. So what this really means then for the lighting industry is a bit of a shake-up. Lighting has gone digital. So like anything that's gone digital, the pace of change is very quick. So the prediction is that the existing lighting manufacturers, who probably had more than 70% of market share up till now, will drop that down to about 30%. There's a huge opportunity for new entrants, which is why we see so much activity, and if your emails are anything like mine, you're getting half a dozen a day from LED lighting manufacturers. So lighting is going to be dominated by light engine manufacturers, all right? It's no longer buying the globes from the major manufacturers, it's where you get your lighting engines, it's whether you go down the Zaga route or whatever. And at the moment, there are a lot of them. But I think market forces will make changes, so I think there'll be a lot of merger and acquisition, so that a lot of the small manufacturers, as they develop, they'll be looking to be acquired. So I think that the large numbers will probably reduce through mergers and acquisition, and some simply won't survive. A highly competitive market, very, very price driven. It's going to be a tough business to survive in. To give you an example of how digitalisation, and lighting's gone digital, how digitalisation can move markets. I could ask a question here: who's got a smartphone? Who's got a Nokia? Who used to have a Nokia? So it gives you an idea. Nokia didn't see the smartphone coming, and roughly the same number of hands went up then for who had a Nokia as to went up to who has a smartphone. I think that if you ask this question in 10 years from now about who's got LED lighting or who's got gas discharge lighting, you get a very similar result to that. So this is showing, and this information comes from a report commissioned by McKinsey Group in the United States. And it shows that that merger to the 50% point, and they're predicting that that's actually going to be in about 2020. So the green ones are your LEDs being retrofitted. These are your compact fluorescents, and then these are your linear fluorescents. So they're predicting that by 2020, LED will be 50% of global market. When I was researching this, however, I did read the 2011 McKinsey report. And the 2011 McKinsey report would have had that 50% mark probably out at 2025. And I think when the 2013 report comes out, the 2014, my prediction is that this 50% point is going to be moving back in time. I don't think that fluorescent will manage to maintain market share at that level through to 2020. I'd like to finish up today by talking about what I believe to be the second wave, if you want to call that, which is lighting control. So right now the wave we're riding is to get more efficient lighting.